This is a video that I've known about for quite some time, however I'm just now finally getting around to making a response to it. I figured that with my most recent video, which is titled Dealing with Sexual Healing from Traumatic Experiences, that I would make this video response now simply because it kind of correlates to some of my previous videos which I've talked about. I've only made about 3 videos in total on my channel about sexual assault. One was titled Mr. Repzion Rises. I don't remember the second video, but it's somewhere on my channel, and my third most recent video, which I posted the other day. This 4th video is responding to someone who thinks that sexual assault, specifically with me, never happened in my life. In fact, all the stuff that I went through didn't happen in my life, and that's perfectly fine that they believe this. However, I'm going to be using him as an example to prove a point, and that is that this man that you're about to see is one of the reasons why many people don't talk about sexual assault. This man is one of the reasons why people won't open up to people, is because of the reaction that this man has towards me specifically. I don't know if he reacts this way to everybody with similar situations, or if it's just me personally. I don't know. But if anything, I'm making this response video as a prime example of what people should not do to victims of sexual assault.
So I watched the whole video. 26 minutes and 35 seconds, from what this little timer thing says. In fact, I'm going to close the Firefox window because I'm so fucking offended at what I had just watched that I can't stand to look at you anymore. A while ago, a user named Varmint Coyote asked me a question in a comment that went along the lines of this: what has this guy done to earn your ire? And it's this shit. Dude, there is no way in fucking hell, after watching a bullshit little fucking prepared, rehearsed video like that.
Some Guy 827, you're absolutely correct. My video, Mr. Repzion Rises, was planned. In fact, the night previously I had written out a bunch of bullet points of the subject on how I want to go about talking about the different subjects that I was going to go through in that video. So you're right, the video Mr. Repzion Rises was planned. It had been planned several months in advance because I had talked to my therapist, Dr. Penner, who's also my psychologist currently right now for the past year and a half, and he was actually one of the people who inspired me and encouraged me to make a video because, you know, I told him about my life and I make YouTube videos, and he said one of the processes of sexual healing through sexual assault is opening up about your past experience. And he encouraged me to make that video. And because I live in Seattle, Washington, which is primarily known for lots of clouds and rainy weather, I was planning and waiting for a day to go out and film. So I chose a soccer park when there was pretty much as far out in a field that I could possibly go, and I got a camera and rehearsed what the topics that I wanted to talk about in that 26-minute video, and I recorded a video sharing my personal story, but most of all how I got through it. And you're right, my video was planned, although I don't see any problem with planning a video ahead, but let's continue.
That I am ever going to believe that you're a victim of anything. Maybe getting your books dumped in 8th grade. Maybe a noogie. Maybe a really rough noogie. But that's it. You are not a victim of fucking shit, and I goddamn know it. Now, I'm not going to say that my reality is harsher than everyone else in the world out there, because that is the most arrogant kind of fucking attitude anybody can have. And that's the arrogance that steams off this video. It's like opening the top of a pot of carrots that you're trying to steam on the oven. Just whoosh, you know, like somebody threw wasabi at anything. You're a liar. I have been through some fucking shit in my life. As a child, I was raped multiple times. And it's hard just talking about this. And you didn't even shed a single fucking tear.
Some Guy 827, this part of your video really confused me. Here you say that because I didn't shed a single tear in my original video titled Mr. Repzion Rises, therefore my video is a lie. Because I didn't cry in my video, therefore what I had to say was by definition untruthful, lying, and that my entire message was not even relevant to my video. And it's interesting because in the rest of your video, which I'm going to show here, you talk about your past and the things that you've went through, yet you don't shed a single tear. And your logic in your video here is that because I didn't cry, therefore it didn't happen, or therefore I must be lying because I didn't shed any tears. And this is not only terrible logic and reason, that doesn't make any sense, because as I just said, you don't cry in your video here, you don't shed any tears, so why should I have to take anything you have to say seriously if you're not crying? But I do take what you have to say seriously, that's why I'm making this video response. But I'm just saying is that your line of thinking here is because I didn't cry, therefore it didn't happen. That doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me.
And you want me to believe you. I was beaten over and over because my granddad had thought that trying to raise a kid like the way they did in the 1930s was the same way you should do it in today's world. Because some people are just fucked up and aren't really meant to raise kids after a while because they just don't know how to fucking go with the times. I've been thrown out of my house multiple times. I've been to jail twice. I fucked up a lot of my fucking teenage life. Dropped out of high school for a while. I fucked my life up and became a dirtbag. And over the last 4 years, I've been doing a lot of shit to try to reclaim myself and better myself. Because I'm not going to go portray myself as some innocent fucking angel in front of the entirety of YouTube. Because that's bullshit. Because no one is fucking perfect.
Some guy 827, you're absolutely right. No one is perfect. Nobody, including myself. In fact, I wonder how many videos of mine you've actually watched, because if you've watched any of my videos in the past, you would know that I'm not perfect. In fact, I've made videos specifically tackling my flaws, my character flaws, things that I see problems with myself, and admitting that I'm not a perfect person. In fact, I don't want people to think that I have everything together. I don't want people to think that I'm somehow better than anybody else. I mean, I made a recent video titled Message to Fans, Radical Fanism, where I specifically addressed this idea of some of my, quote, fans of me who really look up to me, and I don't want people to do that, because I don't consider myself a role model. I don't consider people to look up to, yet even in my videos, I talk about how flawed of a person I am, how I'm a human, and I make mistakes all the time in my own life. And yet, somehow, you still get the idea that I'm this perfect angel, or that I'm attempting to be this perfect little godlike creature who can't do anything wrong. And I don't know where you pull this idea from, but I agree with you. None of us are perfect. I'm not perfect. You're not perfect. We've all made some drastic mistakes in our life, myself included. Whether you believe me or not, I know I've made some pretty bad mistakes.
That's how I know you're full of shit. I have been through some shit that has brought me to suicide a few times. Sometimes I think in the back of my head, man, it's really shitty that I didn't go through with it, or shitty that somebody found me. But at the same time, I just shrug that shit right off my fucking shoulder and go on with my day, because it's much better to be alive. Really. Victims don't need motherfucking people like you. Victims don't fucking need an asshole like you to tell us that, oh, you know, you're not to blame and blah blah. We fucking know that, okay, you son of a bitch? We fucking know that. I'm so sick and tired of this bullshit that everybody says, it's not your fault, it's not. Well, I know it's not my fault. I didn't put the dick in my ass.
Some guy 827, it was this part of your video where I instantly realized that you still struggle with a lot of pain that you've had in your life. For a matter of fact, I believe the things that you've said in your video about being raped and being beaten by your father, and I'm sorry that you've had to go through that. But I have to be honest, is that you're completely wrong here. In fact, I have several links down below, some to the APA, American Psychological Association, some legitimate sources which go into depth about sexual assault among men and women. They're down below in the description. You can click the links for yourself. But part of the reasons I've made the videos I have, specifically my Mr. Repzion Rises, was for the fact of helping people. And that video has done just that. And I'm kind of taken back that you would be so hateful towards a video, even in that video where I state, I even state in the video, I don't care if you believe me. I don't care if you believe that I've been sexually assaulted or not. That's not my concern. My concern is how I got through that experience, and that's what I shared. My video, Mr. Repzion Rises, is my video yesterday on sexual healing. It's not about my story, although I shared my story. It's about how I came out of it, and that even through sexual assault, there is hope, and that you can keep on living a life striving for, and not let your past, whatever it is, abuse of any sort of abuse, define who you are. That's the message of my video. In fact, that's been the few videos I have made about sexual assault. That's what it's been about. It's never been about my story, although I certainly share my story, because I share my story so you can get an understanding of what I've went through. My sharing of my story hasn't been to gain any sympathy or empathy. In fact, I don't want sympathy or empathy. Sympathy or empathy over the internet really means nothing to me. Rather, I want people to look at my experience and see, you know, here's someone who's went through some difficult things. Of course, there are people with worse things, but this person's went through some difficult times in his life, and he's been able to come out of it, and I want that to give other people hope for their own lives. That's why I made the video Mr. Repzion Rises. But I have to stress on the point on how wrong you are here. Victims need someone to reach out to them. Victims need someone to talk to. Victims need someone who they can open up about their sexual assault. That's why when I finally broke open and my parents found out, they threw me into counseling. They threw me into therapy is to get help for the situation that I was in, because I was resorting to cutting. I have scars all over my arms, which you show that you've admit in your video that you used to cut. I used to do the same, except I used to burn. I used to get a metal rod burn tool thingy, and I used to carve into my flesh. I've shown off these scars in some of my earlier videos. I'm not going to show it off here because I feel as if your video here is trying to express that you've had a more harder life than me. That's the impression I get, and I don't think that you, me, or anyone should compare our life stories and say, oh, I had it harder than you, or, oh, I was beaten when I was a child, that's worse than sexual assault, or I was sexually assaulted and that's not as bad as being verbally abused or whatever. Abuse of any sort's bad, and it's wrong, and I'm not going to sit here and compare my life story with your life story, because every person's different, every person goes through different circumstances. And I just get the impression that you're making this video to say that you've had a harder life than me. And from what it sounds like, if you've been raped 3 different times, you have had a harder life than me, if that's true. And I believe it's true. I have no reason to doubt you. But I'd also like to say that you, SomeGuy827, are one of the problems on why sexual assault isn't taken seriously. Because of your reaction to me and my story by saying that I'm lying, that I'm untruthful, that's why sexual assault is not taken seriously, is because of people like you. And I realize this may upset you, but you've went through your fair share of trials, likewise with me. And I believe the trials that you've went through from what you're telling me in this video. I have no reason to doubt you. And I don't understand why you have such a hateful distaste for someone like me who only made that video with the intention of helping other people and giving them hope to get out of the victim-blaming mentality that so many people are put into when abuse, physical, emotional, or sexual abuse happens to them. I don't understand why you have such a distaste towards me on that area. I wish I could change it, but I can tell just from your tone of voice and how angry you are and how bitter you are towards either your past or me, I don't know, but you are the prime example of what victims shouldn't be around. Victims of sexual assault shouldn't be around people like you, because what you're going to do is make them feel more embarrassed and humiliated for what they've been, for what has happened to them. Because the last thing a victim of sexual assault needs is someone to say, I don't believe you. I can tell you honestly, SomeGuy827, that whether people believe I was sexually assaulted or not, it doesn't matter. What matters is that I got through that experience. And one of the primary reasons sexual assault victims don't open up is because they're fearful of people not believing them. and you're one of those people who wouldn't believe a sexual assault victim if they came clean and said, I was sexually assaulted, or I was raped, or I was abused. You would sit there and say, look at your Justin Bieber hairstyle. You obviously couldn't have been sexually assaulted, or you're just completely insincere, you're a liar. That reinforces the concept of a victim's self-blame. It reinforces the idea that it was somehow their fault when you won't even take the extra step to believe someone. Because I'll tell you one thing. A sexual assault victim has no reason to make a story up. And sure, there are women and men who make up stories to get attention. But even if they make that story up, what are they gaining besides sympathy or maybe some empathy? They're not gaining anything. They're not gaining anything by opening up about sexual assault. In fact, if anything, they're gaining humiliation and embarrassment from people like you who embarrass them and tell them that they're lying. And that's not someone a victim of sexual assault needs in their life.
I didn't get the motherfucker stoned up on a whole bunch of drugs, whatever fucking weird psychological deformations it takes for somebody to want to fuck kids. What victims need are better prosecutors in the world, so that these sick fucks can stay the fuck in jail. Or like what happened to me, the motherfucker got murdered in jail. Thank fucking God. Do you know how long it took me to try to come clean to my fucking family and friends about that? It took me even longer to try to come clean to myself. And I have to sit here and watch some fucking Justin Bieber lookalike fucking tell me about how shitty his fucking reality is. What the fuck have you lived through? You got it better than a whole lot of other people, and I can fucking tell just by the way you do your videos, the way you portray yourself, the fucking fact that you just got like a what, a $3,000-$4,000 DSLR camera? Who the fuck are you to say that you have a harsh reality? You have not endured a damn thing, okay? You know what? You want to see how fucking harsh your fucking reality is? I bet I still got some of these goddamn things on my arm because of a stupid fucking being a cutter when I was in high school, okay? You want to talk about depression? That is the shit that depression does. Now, most of these are faded away. You know, some of them are still there. You know, that's depression. You went through huge fucking bouts of depression. Tell me about how fucking sad you were. Tell me. Did you cry in the fucking corner?
Some guy 827, yes. I did cry in a corner. Since age 16 all the way up till about age 19, I cried myself to sleep almost every single night. Why? Because I didn't know how to deal with the feelings and emotions I was going through. Yeah, I was sexually assaulted at 16. Yeah, it caused a lot of conflicting emotions. I started to do self-harm like you did. At that same time, at age 16, I lost one of my best friends who committed suicide. That next year, when I was 17, I then lost another close friend due to a stroke. Randomly hit him in one of his veins, just randomly got clogged, and he had a heart attack. Very young, just randomly died. Two of my best friends died a year after I was sexually assaulted, at the same time I was dealing with all of these emotions of pain, rejection, shame. I didn't know what to do. So yes, I did cry myself to sleep at night, and I don't even know really what else to say to you, to be honest. Besides that, I've had my fair share of life experiences and pain that I've went through. You have too. But for you to sit there and tell me that I haven't had a hard life is one of the biggest acts of arrogance a person can commit. You're assuming everything about my life. You're assuming everything about my circumstances. And then, of course, you make a fallacy, false attribution fallacy, claiming that because of my style of videos, because I have a high-quality camera, which happens to be $1,300, not $4,000, but you use false attribution fallacy here, which is an illogical fallacy which claims that you use a personal attack or something completely irrelevant, I can't even say the word correctly, unrelated to the video. What does my camera quality, my presentation style of videos have to do with the validity of what I say? It doesn't. It doesn't at all. So are you saying that if I got a crappy webcam camera and put it on here and film myself, then what I'd have to say would be meaningful, but because I have a high quality camera, it's not? Some guy, I can tell that you're very angry at me, or just maybe you're just lashing out at me. I have nothing against you individually, but I will say is that I am concerned for your amount of, it seems, either hatred or bitterness that you have towards people. I don't really know what else to say besides that I hope that your life continues to move on and that you can keep recovering and getting your life back together. But I just see from your video this pure hatred towards me and a lot of illogical things that you've said in your video about me and assuming my entire life story simply because I have a high quality camera and I have comic books in my room, which is interesting because at age 18 I forced my parents pretty much told me that I have to get a job, and if I don't get a job I'm going to be kicked out of the house. And what did I do? I got a good job. I work in an optical lab. I make glasses, the glasses you put on your face. I make them. All the stuff you see in my room, paid for by out of my own pocket. In that way, I feel very privileged that I am able to have a job. But for you to make an assumption about my whole life based upon items I have, not only illogical, false attribution, fallacy, and it's just completely unrelated to the topic that we're discussing here, which is sexual assault needs to be taken seriously, and you don't take it seriously by really anyone, and that to me is concerning.
No, you didn't, because you didn't go through it. Did you get put in a fucking mental ward for about a week and a half because of a suicide attempt? Because you were so stressed out of your mind from everybody in your life at the time, driving you fucking up a wall because they want to expect the entire universe out of you, but at the same time tear your spirits down about it so you can't even function? Fuck you. Kids are mean to you at school? Bitch, I got my ass beat every single day through fucking middle school, almost unrelented, just relentlessly. So who the fuck are you to be the voice of victims? There's 26,000 stupid motherfuckers in this world that are gonna thumbs up this video because of the style over substance that you want to spit all over my face and be like, well, my video's shot with this camera and you know, the way I edit it and every fucking thing. Shut the fuck up, motherfucker. This is why I don't like you, because you're so insincere, and I can tell you're insincere. You have no need to be sincere. Once you saw that partnership fucking shit roll your way, you knew that there was coin that was going to be in it. Why the fuck would I exploit what happened in my life for a little bit of money?
Some guy 827, you're exploiting yourself and your trials and experiences in your video right here. If you're going to make the accusation that my video, Mr. Repzion Rises, where I talk about how I went about healing and how I got through the sexual assault in my life, if you're going to accuse me by saying that it was totally done for cash, then I equally have to call out you on the fact that you're exploiting yourself and your experiences to get views. We've both been through similar experiences in our lives, and I myself have been through some difficult things. You yourself have been through some difficult things. But every video we make on YouTube, whether it's partnered video, whether it means it has ads on it or not, if you make a video on YouTube, it is with the sole intent of getting views. So by your own very definition of exploitation, your video talking about you getting raped 3 times and your father beating you is exploiting your tragedy. And I'm basing this off your own logic. Yes, I have ads on I think every single one of my videos, with the exception of one. And I honestly don't have a problem with making money off a video which is intended to help people and educate people and give them hope for their future. I have no problem sharing my past experiences and making money off of that. I honestly don't have a problem with it. And likewise, you don't seem to have a problem with exploiting your stories to get views. Because let's face it, we're all on YouTube, and when we post videos, we want to get views. I guess I should probably summarize this video, Some Guy 827. I really don't know what else to say to you besides that I hope that you can start rebuilding your life back even more than you already have. As you mentioned in your video, you're building your life back together from messing it up. I hope you can rebuild it to the fullest potential that you can achieve. However, I just want to re-stress the point that my concern for you is that it's destructive towards victims for you to have this mentality and tell them that they're lying. I can't even begin how to expand on this. Victims, whether it be physical or verbal abuse, do not need people like you telling them that they're lying. Because that reinforces the idea that it was somehow their fault, and it reinforces the idea that they can't open up to people. And the first process of healing from sexual assault, and even in your video you explained about you opening up to your family about the person who raped you was murdered in prison. You admitted that was hard to tell your family. And the first part of sexual healing is admitting it and talking it out with someone. And for me, I happened to talk with my therapist, who recommended that I make a YouTube video talking about my experiences. And that's what I did. And through that video, I have helped a lot of people. And that, to me, is what matters here on YouTube. That's why I've talked about the subject of sexual assault. And that's why I will continue to be talking about it in future upcoming videos. I just hope that you can realize that even if I am lying about my sexual assault, it doesn't take away from the message of how to cope and how to heal from sexual assault. So with that said, thank you for taking the time to watch this, and peace the rep out.